So let's look at the main problem that we have today. The main problem we have today is that love doesn't equal sex. Now, many people say, well, love doesn't equal sex, actually. Many of you may feel that, oh, you've had sex in the past without there being love involved. And that's what the problem is. And that's the core issue that we're facing with regard to any discussion about sexuality. Is that often what happens is we involve ourselves in sex that doesn't have love involved in it. Or we say we love without having sex involved in it. And I'm not talking about the love that we have for everyone, I'm talking about the love we have for a partner. How many of you have been in a relationship where you've thought you've loved your partner, but have not been sexually attracted to them? Right? Quite a few? Alright. That's because of this separation that occurs between love and sex. And that's why we need to talk about it. The reality is that from God's perspective, there is no separation. That's the reality. And we'll talk about how there is separation, how separations occur. So, the only time that we're actually going to really enjoy sex is when we start to see it that way. Which is a completely different way than what the majority of us look at sex as. Now, let's look at the different types of things that can occur with regard to love and sex. In a relationship, often I will find myself in a quandary with regard to different things. One of those things is love requires two transactions, I suppose you could occur. These are emotional transactions. Love, let's define love as a passionate and desirous longing for the other person. So let's define love as that. Now, for that to occur, there's got to be two things happening. Firstly, there has to be the process of giving that occurs. So in other words, I have got to, within all of my heart, want or strongly and passionately desire to give to the other person. Does that make sense? Yes. If I passionately desire to give to the other person, then I won't be ever trying to push them away, will I? Because I'm actually pulling them closer to me when I passionately desire to give to them. Love also involves receiving. I before E, etc. See? Receiving. Alright. So in other words, if I am blocked with regard to allowing love to enter me from another person, then obviously I'm not going to feel loved inside of myself. Does that make sense to everyone? So on one hand, there's my love that I have inside of me, and I can be willing to give that love. So, and when I say give it, I have a passionate, desiring, longing for the other person. And on top of that, I need to be in a state where I'm ready to receive love. So all injuries with regard to sex relate to these two problems. Remember, though, that it's two people usually involved. So there's four problems. There's four problems in that. There's myself and there's my partner. I need to have a passionate longing and desire to give to my partner. And I'm not talking about sexually, I'm talking about in every possible way, which would include sexually. Agreed? So I have a passionate desire and it's longing to give my heart, be open and vulnerable to my partner. She obviously, for that transaction to be completed, will need a passionate longing to receive that love from me. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because if she wants to block that love, will that love flow between us? It won't, will it? So can you see she needs to have a desire to receive? Now that's one half of the equation. The other half of the equation is she needs to have a passionate, desirous longing to give to me, and I need to have a passionate longing for her love to be received by me. Can you see that's it's now a four-way transaction. So there's two people that need to be healed in giving and receiving in order for love to be equal to sex, in order for, in fact, love to be completed. But often what happens is one of us or both of us are injured in one way. So if you can just picture it from a chakra perspective now, just imagine we've just got two people. In this case, I'm using a heterosexual relationship. So we've got the male and the female. Right? Let's say the female is injured in the sense that she can't trust men. She feels untrusting of men. So anything that a man gives her, she's going to think, I reckon he's got some kind of ulterior motive. Right? How many of you in the past or now even have felt that as women? Like, men have got some ulterior motive. What's the ulterior motive, by the way? Sex. Always the ulterior motive. All right. So if the man loves you, from this person's point of view, he wants sex. In other words, he wants something from me in return for this love that he's giving me. Now what that's going to do is cause the woman to feel like, I don't want to give that. Does that make sense? So straight away, he might be giving his love in a pure way, but she will be feeling, if she has that injury inside of her, she feels like, hang on a sec, all he wants is sex. He's just being nice because he wants sex. Right? And that's going to prevent her from receiving this love in an open and vulnerable way. Does that make sense? Now, in the process, do you think she'll want to give love in return? No, because if she has that kind of injury too, what will she think? If she gives him some love, what is he going to want? He wants sex. Right? So she's going to think, no, if I love him, if I give him too much, then, you know, I've got to give him sex and I don't want to give him sex. Now, she's got to ask herself, why doesn't she want to give him sex? Like, in a way, doesn't she? Why wouldn't you want to give someone you love anything they want, including sex, if you really had a passionate, desirous longing for them? Can you see there must be an injury driving that emotion? That injury has to come from probably somewhere in her life with previous partners or childhood, or even her life with this partner. But wherever it came from, there's an injury that needs to be healed. Now, I've given you an example of a woman. The man on this side of things could be that he's just thinking sex like she thinks, right? And so what's he doing when he's giving her love? Is he really giving her love? No, he's not. And so what's his problem? His problem is that he just wants sex, and the only way to get it is to be loving, in quotation marks, because it's not love, to his partner in order to get it. So that would be his injury, if that's what was going on. But can you see if we didn't have those injuries, can you see giving sex to each other would be just like any other love-based transaction? Can you see, in fact, that you wouldn't separate sex from love? Can you even see, perhaps, that you would want to have sex with them all the time? Yeah. And perhaps you'd want to have sex with them like 24/7? And that's the state of one-ment of the soul, which is having sex 24/7. So you've got to get used to that at some point.